Welcome back to another Pick Your Poison tournament cast. The event is organized by Daniela and her group, so give them a lot of love. And big thanks for hosting the event for us. Today, I'm bringing you guys another YouTube exclusive by merit of my internet not actually being functional, but, well, we'll make do with what we've got. So, today we're looking at a round 2 series, so we're in the round of 8, in bracket G between Gio and Max Power. So this is again a considerably higher elo than most games I've commented on, and considerably higher elo than myself, so we're expecting to learn a bit here, and also just have fun and add our own thoughts as we go along. So, just a quick glance at the draft here for game 1. We're going to be watching Arena, Japanese against Vikings it seems, and we'll go from there, trying to see what the series has in store for us. So, I propose let's hop right in there. Welcome back everybody. Let's waste no more time as we see MarkLanders, also known as Max Powers, I believe, on Discord. The names are a little bit confusing at times, I have to admit. Playing as the Japanese here, trying to take the game 1 victory on the neutral map against Gio. Again, maybe for some people here that haven't been watching a ton of these tournament games, or just aren't familiar with how the whole thing works. Every series is best of 3, meaning you have to win 2 games to get to the next round. There are 5 maps in the pool of this tournament. Each player bans 1 map, and then each player picks a home map. The last remaining map will be played in game number 1, so this, in this case, was Arena. Now, each player has chosen a home map, which will be played after they lose a game in this series. So, for example, if MarkLanders ends up losing here, his home map will be played for game number 2. That's generally how this whole thing functions out here. With the Civ picks, this is kind of the gimmick of this tournament, as it's called Pick Your Poison. The idea is that you get to pick 6 Civs, 3 of those get sniped afterwards, so you're left with 3 Civs, and the opponent then decides which of these 3 Civs you have to play on which map, and thus we end up with Japanese against Vikings here on Arena in game number 1. So let's check out what we actually expect from these Civs heading into the game. We've got the Vikings on the right side, Civ that I'm quite fond of myself. The naval bonus is of course not going to be relevant for this map, but there's plenty of other stuff to be excited for with this civilization. We've got extra HP on the infantry, great bonus to have. Formidable eco as well, with wheelbarrow and handcart becoming available as soon as you hit feudal and then castle age respectively. That saves you a lot of research time mainly, but also resources, and you get those upgrades much earlier than you would otherwise be researching them, and thus really good eco bonus to have throughout the game. Makes Vikings one of the most stable and well-liked economies here in the community. But well, they've also got some decent military, fully upgradable arbalists, with the exception of Thumbring, of course. But now, since the new April patch update, they have a unique tech, Bo3, which actually gives the archers an extra attack, so maybe makes those arbalists attractive in the late game again. They've got Berserks, of course, pretty nice raiding infantry unit, but also just generally solid infantry units coupled with that Chieftain's unique tech. You get a lot of extra damage to cavalry units, so actually Viking infantry very difficult to fight from horseback. Another part of their new bonus from the last patch is of course the gold you get for killing eco units and the like, and probably not going to see a lot of that happening in this game, because I don't expect Viking infantry to raid a lot of the opponent's economy, but you never know. Maybe that bonus can also show through at some point in this game. On the other side, we've got Japanese, which also sadly won't be able to profit off of their naval bonuses here. We discussed this in one of the last series that we've cast, but generally the fishing economy extremely good for Japanese, even early on. Not going to matter here though. We've got cheaper economy buildings. That is kind of their main selling point, at least in the early game. Lumber camps, mills, all of that just 50% cheaper. You could see the wood economy that much smoother as a result, able to put up lots of farms here already, which are not affected by the discount, of course, but saving all that wood, even able to put up a second lumber camp already. So that is a really nice early game bonus to have without question. Also, kind of similar to the Vikings feudal age extra HP on infantry, Japanese get faster attacking infantry starting in feudal age, so kind of interesting to always see those bonuses match up. And with the samurai unique unit, you've got a unique unit that counters unique units. So very interesting. Extra bonus damage there against berserks, so you don't want to typically go in that matchup playing as the Vikings. So both lists here with interesting bonuses definitely. Kataparuto for a better trebuchets. Pretty good tech as well to have there in the late game, although that only comes in imp, evidently. Okay, enough said about the general stuff of the tournament and the civs here. Let's see where we are at. And we're looking at a 40 seconds faster feudal age timing for the Japanese. Curiously on the same villager count, so that is mainly due to, I assume, Loom being picked up by the Vikings and 20 seconds of idle TC time as well. So the 11th seed here, a decided underdog, Gio. Not off to the greatest start here, 40 seconds late, basically for no reason. Loom not really, yeah, something you'd like to pick up that early on Arena. On the other side, MarkLanders. Gotta feel pretty good about himself, I believe. Eco looking smooth. Look at all these eco buildings that he's already got up. It's 4 of them, so that's a total of 200 wood saved already off of that bonus. Real neat, and you can see he's going for a pretty... Oh wow, this is confusing. He's not gonna get this fast castle off, is he? Not with the minimal time spent in feudal age, that is. You got the barracks going off and the blacksmith, but he's going to need another building after this, so he's looking to put down an archery range, perhaps. The wood isn't quite there just yet, so it'll take him some time, I guess. We'll have to go for 3 or maybe 4 villagers. Could also pick up Loom, though, on the way. Is still missing that second building, and there it goes. It is a stable, actually, for him. Okay. Interesting stuff there on the other side. Vikings also having advanced to feudal age. I guess we'll also go for like 3 villagers here for getting up to castle. Interestingly, also going for the barracks plus 2 military buildings, or at least plus an extra military building here with the stable approach, and thus has the resources but doesn't have the second building up just yet. Blacksmith down here ends up coming in, and I guess is just going to tank the little bit of idle time here as the blacksmith finishes constructing. I guess should have picked up another villager here on the way, potentially, but not important. Just 8 seconds at this point, so that is definitely manageable. And thus, both players now a little bit closer on the way up to castle age. 20 seconds separating them with pretty much identical builds here, both with the stable and blacksmith. Quite interestingly, Vikings especially, who know for their archer play, not going to come into effect just yet. And it's scout production on both sides. Again, we see very similar builds out of both players so far. Note the better or the extra lumber camp for the Japanese off of their bonus. And thus, they're going to like their spot that they're in, I believe. Extra villager already in as well, and spearmen there, pretty big. We saw this in the last series that we've cast. Also, I believe from bracket G, so the comparisons do apply. Some players definitely undervaluing spearmen when trying to fight for middle control. Very good relic distribution. Man, I don't think I've seen a fair relic distribution like this one on Arena in this tournament just yet. Seems very evenly distributed here. This, of course, unfortunate to see. Spearmen don't fare very well against wild animals. You can see he's going to lose a lot of that HP bar, and that is a difficult loss here early on, as you don't operate with as high military numbers. Every little HP tends to count. Either way, we've got Cancellate in for both parties now. Japanese for the very early wheelbarrow. Oh boy! I mean, they're going completely bonkers on the Viking bonus here, trying to not waste any time and get wheelbarrow as soon as possible too. Although Vikings already with the hand card here. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the spearman only for Japanese, just like in the last series. I don't like that a lot. When you want to go for scouts to contest the middle control, you gotta put in some spearmen in there. I mean, even if the opponent only has his one starting scout, you can't pick up any relics there safely without having a spearman of your own. I mean, your monks are just gonna get murdered. And MarkLanders on the other side with 4 spearmen himself. I think gonna be pretty happy with how this has gone so far. Looks like he's been trading fine in terms of HP. No kills yet, of course. But finally we see some spearmen out for the Vikings as well. Monks on both sides coming in too. And the skirmishing commences. A really good trade there for the Vikings. While this spearman is getting work done on the Japanese cavalry here. And I think this might result in them actually being able to pick up the relic. He's got to keep the spearman close to... Oh, he's getting baited out of the area. He's gonna lose that monk now. The spearman needed to stay around the relic very closely, and now the trade isn't looking as great anymore, but still nothing to complain about there. Good micro there, distracting the spearman, able to take it out though. So Gio kind of fighting back a bit here. Let's look at a TC situation. We've got single TC still. Second one just now being dropped for Mark. Second one already up for the Vikings. The farming eco is looking very rough though. Oh, I don't like this. You don't heal. You carry back the relic. What are we doing? Why are we not carrying the relic? Oh, he must have thought he picked it up already. Oh, this is tragic. Oh, he's wasting so much time here. Oh, so unfortunate. Yeah, I think he now realized he didn't get it. It might seem insignificant, but you really got to push the pace once you start winning these trades. Because look at this. It's going to be 2 relics already for MarkLanders. The micro and the trades were pretty good for Gio, but he just didn't have the units in the right place, I guess, to contest the enemy relics. Had more scouts alive, so could have definitely tried for something there. Now, oh, ends up losing out on these scouts as well. Alright, has picked that one relic up, but in the meantime lost a lot of the control. Silver lining, he's still on 3 town centers to the opponent's 2 at this moment. Farming economy not up and ready just yet for the Vikings, so idle time is going to get a little bit higher here before the production actually fully kicks in. But still, he's up a little bit in villages, so at least that is something he's going to be happy about. Last relic here still on the map. It's going to be 3-1, I believe. Yep, there we go. The Japanese have already picked up that additional one. So, pretty good start there for MarkLanders. Gets another scout kill. That monk isn't going to make it, I don't think. Got bad news for you, although both sides have taken out all the opponent's scouts. So at this point, it's very much kind of a guessing game as to how confident you are in stepping up with the monk. Looks like he's going to be able to get that after all, though. There's no additional scout. Oh no, never mind that. There is a scout coming out for MarkLanders. He should be able to get on over here in time in order to maybe snipe that monk once again. Interesting, so he hasn't fully given up on that yet. Would ideally like to go up 4-1 in terms of relics, as both players now running that triple TC production. Eco numbers going to stay relatively similar, and actually this monk quicker on his feet than I had anticipated. Looks like he might just make it home. Oh, don't tell me he's gonna drop the relic in the gate. Don't tell me. Okay, I'm not sure that even works, but if he had dropped it in the gate, I mean, that would have been hilarious. Don't think that works, though. I think that would just look weird. I've never seen that, so doubt it is a thing. Still, it's right outside Gio's door. He should, by all means, be able to pick this one up, but you never know. I mean, maybe Now it looks like he's got that one in the bag. Nice effort by MarkLanders to deny it. Wasn't able to do it after all, though. And so still a relatively close early game here. Can't lie. Also, nobody here looking to drop castles anytime soon. It's quieting down a little bit after that. Relic, skirmishing, eco upgrades coming in on both sides as well. Vikings, of course, still happy with their hand card already being in. And maybe that's going to make them able to carve out a bit of a lead here over the next few minutes or whatnot. We'll keep track of it, definitely. Let's maybe even, I think would be a good idea to maybe check out the what is it? Resources collected is what I mean. If we can take a look at these eco numbers. Japanese, it's basically even, completely even at this point. Villager numbers still a bit higher for the Vikings, although it's not really significant amounts. Going to try for a 4th TC now. Interesting. Kind of big investment always, adding another town center. I don't hate it here. I think, nothing indicates that this would cost him a lot of tempo. Lots of gold actually floating for MarkLanders. I wonder if that is part of the plan. It could, with all this gold, already go up to imp if he so chose. And is adding a market now as well to try and balance that eco out a bit, presumably. So let's see what his intentions are. Neither side having gathered a massive advantage just yet, but again, I want to maybe take this chance to reiterate how big a game 1 victory would be here. If you win this game, you then have the luxury to only need 1 more victory, meaning you can afford to drop your opponent's home map and still just close out the series on your own home map. On the contrary, if you end up losing this first game, you then need to win both on your own home map and on your opponent's, which is traditionally pretty difficult here even for pro players. So let's see if they're going to be able to do that. Aggressive outposting by MarkLanders here. He's going to control all that vision in the middle. Let's check out how much he's actually currently seeing, and looks quite nice, can't lie. He's also going to spot this castle going up right now. Wonder what the reaction is going to be. This not being a terribly aggressive castle there by Gio. Don't think it's going to alert the Japanese a lot. Also going for that 4th TC now is MarkLanders. He's kind of trailing by 5 to 10 eco here, and thus the 4th TC by Gio probably was a good idea. Both players on the way up to imp, but Vikings are actually going to get there first apparently. Interesting. So they gonna have that castle up. Would potentially be able to produce trebuchets at first, although we're not in a trebuchet war scenario just yet. Japanese also going for their own castle now. I guess not as much of an ideal spot, right? You're not really protecting a lot with that. No res, not your gates either or anything, but I guess just wants to have a castle on the map. It's a production building and I guess some safe haven there for retreat. Again, I'm not totally opposed to that. This is a pretty funny castle there, right outside his own gate. Kind of walled himself in there. Goes out now with the villagers and going to start mining away at the gold just outside his base as a 5th town center comes down in the east as well. Cheeky spot there. Might not get spotted, for a while, and those Japanese outposts don't actually reach all the way on over there. So Gio now the first up to imp. Let's see what he's going to opt for, and indeed we end up seeing a commitment en route to Arbalists. I don't hate that. Definitely Bo3 as soon as that comes in. Arbalist upgrades. Very strong units there to have. Of course, no thumb ring, remember, but with ballistics being in there, still really, really good units. We see all the upgrades coming in for those. Let's see if he's going to end up running into that castle. He doesn't know that that's there yet. Could be a costly kind of scouting endeavor there for these 4 crossbow folks. And actually going to try to drop a forward castle now. Finds out about the enemy's castle. Oh, okay, he's not reacted just yet. But, okay. Ends up getting out of there with just 1 loss. So pretty good for him. Ends up going for a bit more conservative castle, but has nice control of the middle so far. Trebuchets start coming out for the Vikings already, so they're going to get a head start on this, and having committed 4 archers to the opponent's infantry is a really good sign here early on for Gio. He's going to like his spot in the early Imperial Age. MarkLanders going to try and also go into some trebuchets. Doesn't have Cataparuto though, and with that one castle only being up right now, you can't really, you have to decide whether to research text there or make trebuchets, whereas the opponent here, the Vikings, they've got 2 castles up now. You can go for their Buchsweger, could also go for chieftains, for conscription, although probably they've already researched that, or could just go for double trebuchet production, which they are doing right now, and that's going to make it difficult for the Japanese to keep up here. They are getting their own army into the field. Arbalests here on the way, really good. Wait, why are we sending militia forward? Is this like a delayed rush? Is this like the imp militia rush? I'm not sure what this is. Wonder if that was intentional, because he doesn't have any infantry upgrades. Either way, he's got infantry there, so he's flexible. Trying to meet some quota, I assume. That trebuchet war going pretty well so far for the Vikings, just in terms of having better numbers. Pretty good spot here to be in, not getting raided either. So he's controlling the middle right now, and he's getting a great start off to this Imperial Age. This castle is going to fall. These repair villages are quite late to the party. And good job by Gio, man. He's been decisive here, and he's getting rewarded. Now able to waltz on in with those obelisks. Why are we not storming the traps though? Or why are we not going forward? Come on, come on. We need to punish now why we've got the angle, don't we? Okay, I like to see it. He's getting on in there. Note the chemistry. Flaming arrows here flying from north to south, from south to north. And I like this spot for the Vikings, although the micro isn't the best. Has kind of sacrificed these 10 obelisks right here. En route to dropping another castle over here in the east. Moves those traps forward, although has to be careful. The low HP there should ideally move the repair villages alongside forward, but actually the Japanese seem to be winning this battle. This is really below par, subpar, I believe is the expression. Micro there for the Vikings. It took him ages to get all of the obelisks to march forward. Thus he took very inefficient trade there when he had the better numbers, and was kind of just, I guess, distracted on other parts. And now he wasn't even able to put up the castle in the east either. So actually his push has kind of been stalled out here. Still now, even fighting against skirmishers, so the trades aren't as efficient, although he's been able to win the battle for now. Gotta back this up with something. He brings those stable forward and is looking to go into light cap, presumably against the skirmishers. Castle is going to be, again, attempted to be put up, but this isn't going to be enough, I don't think. 20% still missing on that. And there's lots of army for the Japanese still surrounding it. Counter castles, again, going up there in the east. Is MarkLanders going to be able to stall this one out? The ecos are still very comparable between these two guys. And the trebuchets are still the main issue for the Japanese. They don't have an answer for that right now. And skirmishes, all they have. Their army is very much lacking. They've got the resources, but military production buildings being taken out, I think that is kind of the main issue right now for MarkLanders, who's going to have to deal with another assortment of trebuchets here. Looks like he's really having trouble keeping up his defenses here, as another castle is likely going to go down before enough trebuchets can come out to really turn the tides. Light caps, which was a good idea for the Vikings. I would like to see a few upgrades on those, as he's now starting to queue those up, because those are pretty good units against skirmishers, at least much more cost efficient than the obelisks. Castle ends up falling in the east, and that is the GG called for MarkLanders. Really nice game. The tempo was kept up very high by Gio. Got a bit scared there when he threw away a few of those obelisks, but overall pretty convincing victory in game 1, honestly. Did a fine enough job with the relic game. Ended up getting to imp slightly ahead in terms of eco overall, I guess, with the relics. Can call it kind of even, but just first to imp. Made the correct unit here. Well, kind of was a guessing game, wasn't it? But the answer for the obelisks just wasn't there just yet for the Japanese. And overall just faster to get the army out on the map. was Gio, coupled with the double castle trap production and the minute or so earlier up to imp. Really nicely done. This was a solid game there for the Vikings, and Gio takes that neutral map, meaning we'll move on to MarkLanders' home map, which apparently is Arabia, another fellow Arabia enjoyer. I'm pleased to see that. Let's see if we got an Arabia game here in the recordings. Indeed we do, so let's boot that one up, as the higher seed is now going to have to fight for his tournament life on his home map in game number 2 here. Honestly, let's just jump in straight away here. Why not? Gio here on the Dravidians on Arabia, going to attempt to, I guess, close out the game and the series to move on into the round of 4 semifinals against MarkLanders on the Persians on his home map, who really needs a victory here if he wants to have a chance at moving on in the tournament still, and thus he's going to have to come prepared here to bounce back and force a decider game 3. First of all, again, let's maybe take a quick glance at the civilizations at play here. Got the Persians, well, as I always say, most well known for, well, for the Persians, I guess that would be the douche, although I don't think we're going to see that right here. But have some very interesting bonuses just besides the tanky town centers. The longer the game goes, the better your town centers get, generally. So you really want to get into the late game or throughout the mid game, build up that eco lead with the Persians traditionally, and very well suited to do that are those fast working town centers. Water bonuses, of course, are not going to be coming into effect here, as we see really good sheep scouting. We noticed the considerably higher level of play than we had in the lower brackets, including my own, of course. Like to see players do that, and the deer push is also already coming in. Well, town centers aren't everything that the Persians have, of course. They've got pretty decent knights as well. And honestly, fine archers there. Remember, you can turn those archers into trash units if you research that Castle Age unique tech Commandaran, if I pronounce that correctly. Probably don't, because I have zero experience with any of those Middle Eastern type languages. Either way, point being, a very interesting archer tech there that allows you to make them without even paying any gold. So there's definitely more than just one dimension to Persian play. On the other side is the Dravidians, as if that I'm 0.00 familiar with. Also, must have done a decent job scouting with those sheep here. Doesn't really know about where the opponent is just yet, and is also pushing those deers. And let's check out their bonuses then for the Dravidians. Again, another Sith that sadly won't be able to profit off of the naval bonuses, although I shouldn't say that. There is ponds on this map, so maybe they're going to be sneaky and end up going for that. Not typically what we see on Arabia, though. So what do the Dravidians have? They have a bunch of stuff. I mean, extra wood when advancing to the next stage is really nice. Can go for some cheeky builds there, because those buildings that you typically need at the start of every age, much easier to put up if you get just 200 wood for free there. Cheaper barracks tax suggests maybe some infantry play here, which has grown increasingly more popular over the last month. Cost reduction on siege units, honestly, pretty nice as well in an infantry meta, if you could even call it one that we're in right now. But the Persians, I'm not sure if there's lots of siege weapons I would like to build against Persians or against Night Siths in general, really. Or siege doesn't typically end up coming into play very early at least. Then again, though, Dravidians have more than that. We see elephant archers being an option. We see yeah, there a variety actually of bonuses for elephants there, with medical cores also being an option down there. But typically I wouldn't say the Dravidians have like the one go-to unit or unit type. In general, I don't know a whole lot about this Civ though, so I'll be watching on it and learning intently here. Now though, having wrapped all of that up, let's see what both these guys are doing. They're both going up to feudal on 19 villages. Barracks coming down here on both sides. Actually already done, as we see militia being queued up for Gio, so maybe just the French kind of drush, maybe just like the 2 militia after Loom. Doesn't have to mean anything, any great commitment on men-at-arms or anything of that sort. We'll see though, because he's already going to gold. Oh, this is painful though. Oh, Gio, I think he intended to at some point drop a lumber camp down here, but has all 5 villagers walking back now. It's got to be annoying. Ends up going for the resource building now. It's still very open, and this is quite far away of a lumber camp, so going to have to make sure to keep that one protected. Not sure if MarkLanders is going to be able to spot that, but if he is at some point, could be a great target of attack. Persians, meanwhile, doing a pretty good job at walling up already. We see stables for the Persians, and actually 3 militia there for Gio, who's got those gold villages, so was able to put in an extra on, is most likely going to try for men-at-arms as well, although that would require him to get into the enemy base first, which might not even be happening here. We really see a difference there with MarkLanders being very nicely walled up already. Dravidians not so much, and are going for an archery range right now. Stable up way quicker though for the Persians, so if you're playing against a scout player who's got the more mobile units and who's out on the map first, might be difficult to get those archers out on the map, if that is indeed what Gio is looking for, because the gold isn't looking too hot right now, although he's increasing the villages he's got working on over there. Quick wall attempt coming up by MarkLanders. Doesn't look like it's going to be very successful though, despite the yellow color he's using. There he goes. Ends up losing that 1 villager, and the militia are in. Men-at-arm upgrade is as well, and he's going to try and harass that wood line here presumably. Might be able to punch in here really, because palisade walls don't typically do too hot against men-at-arms, although it has to be said this is really fortunate terrain here for the Persians. Those longswordsmen are going to be attacking uphill no matter which palisade they're attacking, and lots of scouts out already for MarkLanders. The militia and men-at-arms have done their job though in terms of delaying that scout attack. Could have been on Gio at this point, which would have been a devastating attack perhaps, especially if Gio was distracted on offense. Instead though, the men-at-arms forced the Persian attention to stay at home, and thus he's now able to maybe get out a few of those archers and continue the pressure on the Persians at home. This lumber camp is kind of getting in trouble though. MarkLanders now forced to send the scouts in to kind of break out of that siege, and going to successfully take out all the men-at-arms. So partial victory there, definitely. 2 scouts end up surviving. No more are currently out in the field, and the walls are again going to be attempted to be completed. Let's see what the archers can do then. Few spearmen alongside them, we like to see that. He's not going to send those out yet, I don't think, because you really gotta be worried about potentially getting raided at home. You can see that is a very open map still for Gio, so knowing that the opponent has scouts, I like the decision to be wary here and not move out with those spearmen just yet. This is one janky lumber camp though. Looks like next breeze of wind might blow that one over. Kinda gross having to do manual labor of that intensity next to a burning fire, but hey, I'm not one to judge. Oh nice, he did spot the hole, so to speak, up top here. Some players kind of end up forgetting walling all the way to the edge of the map from their wood lines, but good attention there by MarkLanders. So nothing to complain about there. And now finally, Gio moves out with that force. Looks like he's fully walled up at home now. Okay, decent job here. He's been paying attention and still keeps the odd spearman around to make sure nothing goes terribly wrong. Oh, this is not what I like to see though. Announcing yourself to the opponent with archers before you're actually in range to hit anything. Not typically the greatest choice. Oh, looks like he's going to have some trouble reaching on over there. No fletching yet for the Dravidian, so just 4 range. 1, 2, 3, 4. Barely not able to, I think, range those villagers. Fletching would allow him to do that and at least deny half of that wood line. Meanwhile, Persian scouts are also headed forward. Just 2 of them, so he hasn't made any more. Seems like MarkLanders truly is prioritizing getting to Castle Age a little bit faster and doesn't want to extend that feudal age any longer. Looks like both players with solid ecos at this point. Lots of farms up already. No horse collar though for the Dravidian, so that is a big wood investment that he's made and not going to get... oh well, is going to have to replenish those sooner than the opponent. Archers again moving around. Fletching is in, but apparently still can't reach this. Should definitely try and reach from the south now, as scouts have come forward but are going to be disappointed not to find any possible entries then to the opponent's base. That was really quick uptime here in the end by the Persians here. 36 villagers, pretty solid. Might have used the market a bit, I didn't quite catch that, but looks like might have sold some stone, although no, that's just stone walls up here in the north. Good job then, he's going to be quite ahead of the Dravidians going on to the next stage. At least Gio paying good attention there, not going to allow the opponent to break in. House walls coming behind the palisades and the archers at the front. Well, actually able to push a few of those villagers off the woodline. Still just a 1-0 eco KD, so no additional casualties were taken, but this is big military. Remember, we had 3 militia, men-at-arms upgrade, fletching, and 6 archers for Gio. That's why he's considerably late to feudal age or to castle age rather, when MarkLanders has made minimal investments into army, just the 4 scouts, 5 scouts or whatever that was, and nothing more, especially no gold units, so very cheap guy. Ladies, watch out for him. He's not one looking to spend, if that is important for you. Gets up to castle age way early. And what's he going to make with that? Knights is the obvious answer, and that's the route he's going for right now. Looks like he's got double stables, actually. Where's that second one? Does he have a forward? No. Where's that second stable? Oh yeah, it's right next to his town center. I'm just tripping. My apologies, I guess. Knights out for the Persians now. That's going to be trouble for Gio. He doesn't have the military to deal with knights. There's 10 archers for the Dravidians. Most of them at home and safe there is a good choice, because those Persian knights would just completely annihilate his archers at this stage. He's already got the second armor upgrade. Real good job there, prioritizing the right upgrades, even with no low numbers of knights. If you know that you're fighting archers and spearmen, I like the early commitment for what's it called? For the armor upgrades, of course. Scale barding here already in. Chain barding, excuse me. I'll mix those up for the next years to come. I already know. And the second town center going up too for MarkLanders. I think his eco is going to start taking off soon here, coupled with that faster working TC bonus that the Persians feature from the get-go. Going to be a siege workshop behind this. And I wonder if Gio here, with those non-horse collar farms starting to run out, if he's going to have an answer to those knights. It looks like for now it's going to be crossbowmen. No pikemen upgrade, interestingly. Going for the bowsaw as well. And crossbows are out. Quite a big force of them, but he's got to make sure not to throw those away, especially with the siege workshop going on for MarkLanders. We might see some mangonel play here. That could be highly influential in the game, as the second TC is also going to start being built by the Dravidians. Again, the crossbowmen just starting to hit random buildings gives the opponent time to prepare an answer, which in this case MarkLanders already has on the way. Mangonel at 40%, gets some decent picks on the knights. go on the hill. Oh, I guess he's mainly on the hill, so he's getting good bonus damage there on the gate, isn't he? And he's in with those crossbowmen. No ballistics yet, but man, if those hit, you can see he's just one-shotting those villagers. Mangonel out. Great dodge here by Gio. How is he going to maneuver this situation? Oh, that was a big shot by the Persian. And it looks like Gio's not looking to extend this contest, but in comes the cavalry. And out goes the cavalry. Gio just gonna walk home, and MarkLanders going to permit that to happen. Would have liked to maybe see him skirmish around that, block the archers a bit, try and get another mangonel shot in. Either way, I think he's happy with this game state. Already adding a third town center. Knights right now, very strong unit. Tried to get into the opponent's eco, wasn't able to do so. And at this point, with the crossbowman being at home, you really don't want to just randomly start hitting walls, because that just allows the opponent to freely hit from behind those walls. And thus, Knights not going to get it done on their own, so siege is going to be required. Let's see what route MarkLanders takes here. Wouldn't be surprised to see him take this incredibly slow though, because Persians getting to late game without a lot of trouble. Most players are going to be fine with that. Interestingly, he's not been able to take a villager lead despite very good idle numbers from the town centers here of both players. I've got to compliment that for sure. Knights now again trying to do some damage. Got some monks for Gio as part of his response to the Persian knight play. Crossbowmen starting to go forward. And he's going to lose a few of those potentially, although lack of ballistics, you can see here, really making a difference. Soon as MarkLanders reacts, no further shots are going to be able to hit. And thus Gio so far just remains fine at home. Down 1 TC though, so again I'm just kind of waiting for the point in time where slowly but surely the Persian villager numbers start separating themselves from the opposition. Oh, this town center is ambitious. I'm not sure this one is going to be allowed to go up. There's a monk there, and crossbowman armada starts moving out as well, but here comes the mangonel. Crossbowman, good movement so far. The damage isn't great, and the numbers are seeming to start to overwhelm MarkLanders. Oh, this was poor. I guess, yeah, with the mangonels being there, I guess why he would just retreat and not even take the chance. Ends up losing a knight and a mangonel here, so pretty good trade. Gotta make sure not to get hit with those mangonel shots though. Fine hit, but nothing devastating, and Gio is looking fine so far. Gets good hits in on those knights. Man, he doesn't have ballistics, but whenever those knights stand still to attack, as they take out the town center, big victory there for MarkLanders. No stone left in the bank for Gio. He's going for the thumb ring, but honestly, I think ballistics would have been the right choice there. Not sure with the actual mathematics there, or the spirit of the law, kinda commandments regarding technologies, but would feel like intuitively I would say maybe ballistics would have been the better upgrade, as we get this beautiful parade of crossbowmen as they get healed up. And yeah, just gonna have to drop a mining camp here. Town center not available, and he's got no stone, so going to have to take it the old-fashioned slow way. This gives MarkLanders quite some tempo, and now we see that villager leads start coming in for the Persians. 3 town centers against 2, despite having way higher idle time here. 3 additional minutes in the last 5 minutes or so. He's been able to separate himself by about 15 villagers, taking out those villagers that had come forward, I believe, to build the town center. At least a few of them must have died, as the eco hit is 6-4, but mainly just keeping those Persian TCs working. Big part of that save's identity is utilizing that bonus, as the Mongol comes forward and looks like, oh boy, that's good hits. Able to even dodge out on half of that opponent's mangonel attack. Good movement, although on the back end of the trade by Gio, so he's able to still come out somewhat ahead in this mangonel skirmish. Castle has now been completed though, on a really nice spot here in the middle of the map. Going to control this choke point on a hill. No resources actually secured by that one, but just kind of solidifies Mark's control over the north for the time being, and prevents any crossbowmen mainly from going in there to harass that wood line. So it's a pretty good castle to have and go from there. I would expect Imp to come in soon for MarkLanders. He's got the castle to start trebuchet production. He's got fine army to, I think, be able to justify that. And there he goes. 95 villagers for the Persians on the way to Imp. Way ahead of Gio, who's, well, 20 villagers behind here. One town center behind, one castle behind. And as he equalizes those TC numbers, he's going to really struggle here. Once the first traps start coming out, these crossbowmen are not going to be able to deal with those. At least not as long as they are positioned somewhat within the safety of the Persian castles or siege weapons. Box formation forward now for Gio, who's trying to maybe look for some picks here. Gets one of those knights to go down. No ballistics yet still. I really would like to see him queue those up now. Though he must feel like he's a bit late on the way to Imp as well. Interestingly, a 200 score lead for Gio, despite having 20 less villagers and not being up to Imp yet. That is going to change soon, I have to imagine, but very interesting. I wonder where that score lead is coming from. Maybe technology? Who knows? He is 2 minutes late to Imp. Doesn't have a castle of his own yet, though, so I think he's going to really struggle in the early Imperial Age. Even Skirmish is now being checked for MarkLanders. And gets a few of those remaining upgrades as well. Mainly though the traps are going to be what makes this one difficult, I feel. Oh, I didn't even notice this, but has town center in the corner here that the lone spearman is kind of watching over. The lone warden actually doesn't even see that. Well, that's hilarious. He doesn't even know that there's anything there. He just has a random spearman in the corner. Now gonna have to deal with the trebuchets though. And I don't think he's really equipped with that equipped to deal with that, sorry, at all. Castle now attempted to be put up here in the east. That one spearman giving him some pain though. Either wall in those villagers or just kill that one with your villagers, I feel. It's the correct play here. Either way, he's going to force this castle up some way. And in the meantime, going to start pushing in the middle here. Quite the number of knights, backed up by some skirmishers. I really don't want to trade into this if I'm Gio. And still no ballistics, although it's almost complete now. Gonna make a big difference, but is that alone going to be enough to stop this push? I don't currently see it. I think he's going to lose a lot of ground in the middle here. Tries for some conversions with the monks. I don't think those are gonna come through though. Actually able to get one of them. Loses the monks, loses the TC, loses a few villagers too. Mangonel is still alive. And the crossbowmen are also alive and well in big numbers, yet more being trained, and Cavalier is in for the Persian. Scale barding on the way. Plate barding, oh boy. Scale barding is just the first upgrade, I guess. Well, I'll learn at some point. This is going to be one tanky group of Cavalier as they push forward. And Trebuchet is going to continue working away at those buildings. At least there's a castle for Gio as well, who has queued up Imp for a while. I think he had tons of villagers queued in that town center, because I think Imp was queued up for quite a while there for the Dravidians. He must have not noticed that lots of villagers were in queue before that. Unless I'm mistaken and he just recently queued up there. But that is going to take him ages to get into trebuchets himself. He's gotta wonder. Oh yeah, he cancels that villager production 3 seconds before it ends up coming through. Oh, he's gotta be tilted with that one. Poor guy. This Imp could have been in almost already, I feel like. But instead, he's got 3 traps, knocking down that castle before he's even going to be able to get to him. Oh, this is kind of infuriating here. I think this might even be the point the game gets decided on. Is he going to lose this entire crossbowman mass? He's got to be careful with it, but the castle is no longer going to offer any protection, and these Cavalier, they're really hurt. Remember, it's Persian Cavalier. They've got the bonus against foot archers. Oh, you don't like to see this one. It looks like Gio is completely getting routed here, and despite having a lot of res still in the bank, it looks like he's completely losing the grip on this game here. Military numbers are through the bottom right now. Looks like, oh man, MarkLanders is just taking everything. This game's gotta be over. And just as I say this, Gio ends up calling it here, but man, that was, again, just as dominant as game 1, kind of. One player starting that push, hitting that timing, especially the trebuchet timing before the opponent, and just running with it as a result. So I'm really not sure what to expect from the last game of this series, since we've seen kind of equally dominant games from both sides. But let's see what that game is going to be. 1-1 is the score in this series, so we're gonna get a decider here in game 3 for who moves on into the final 4 and who gets eliminated. Here in bracket G, it's going to be game 3 on Islands. So that is Gio's home map. Going to be Berbers against Saracens. Ooh, interesting Islands matchup, man. The things you see. Pick your poison. Let's queue this one up and see who's able to take it, who's able to clinch the series victory here, as we narrow down the field of contestants for our cash prizes. You have to get top 1, meaning win your bracket in order to win one of those. MarkLanders against Gio, winner take all quarterfinals, game 3 on Islands. Berbers against Saracens. And let's, again, as always, especially on these slow starting maps such as Islands, check out what these cities have to offer. In the northwest, which, well, yeah, on the left side of your screen, it's the Berbers for the 3-seeded MarkLanders, having to win this game on the opponent's home map in order to reverse sweep the series and move on the tournament. What do the Berbers offer him in order to achieve that goal? Well, I like the Berbers on Islands. I've seen Viper pick them in Hidden Cup 1 or 2 and have pretty good success with them. So I think, not sure if that even is remotely a meta pick still, but it is fun because you have faster moving ships. That is a naval bonus that is definitely underrated for as far as I'm concerned. It really helps out with everything. Fishing ships gathering much more efficiently, especially the longer the game goes, the longer those ways become between the fish schools and the docks that you got. Man, that is a really efficient bonus. But also just in combat, makes galley micro a lot smoother, makes your fire ships much more sticky, able to chase down the opponents, or just run away from the opponent's fire ships. So you're always able to get the repair villages there first, kind of, since you're able to pick and choose when those naval engagements start and end. So I really love that utility bonus for the Berbers on Islands. There's much more bonuses though, making the Berbers attractive. Faster moving villagers, good for your eco in general. Stable units being cheaper in Castle and Imp, really nice throughout the game, especially in the late game there, which, well, Islands games oftentimes tend to reach. And also, of course, we all like these very unique type of units that the Berbers work with, the Jenny Tool and the Camel Archer. Love to see that. I think pretty cool units there. Quite unique, or well, I should say, niche type units that kind of fulfill specific roles there. So a pretty cool stuff overall. Can't say I have too much dislike about that. On the other side, it is the Saracens, so let's give them their fair share of credit and shine as well. Gio here, 11th seed, got off to a great start, and this game 1 victory has earned him the privilege of playing this decider on his home map. So I expect him to come out of the gates swinging here. Saracens for him, also classified as a naval civilization, so you've got to wonder why these two civs were chosen by both players as their opponent's civ to play on islands. But if we take a quick glance at the graph, Berbers, Japanese, Persians, all great on water. Vikings, Saracens, Dravidians, all great on water. So both guys did an excellent job picking versatile civilizations that had no bad maps out of Arena, Islands, and Arabia. So nicely done there. Really, gotta give props, and thus both players probably quite happy with the civs they ended up getting here for Islands. What do the Saracens have, though, that makes them cool on water maps? Well, I don't like them as great as the Berbers, I got to admit. Tankier and better transport ships, not sure how much a role that is going to be playing. Faster attacking galleys, super good bonus, of course. Much higher damage output by galley groups, so that could be quite the consequential bonus there for the Saracens. We'll see if they're able to make use of that. That is kind of where their naval power ends, though. Markets being the big kind of signature building of the Saracens. That's what they're probably most renowned for. Cheaper markets and better trade prices there allows you to, again, go for some interesting builds, but also just set up your economy a bit more efficiently in the early game as well, at least if you're proficient and know exactly how the mathematics work out around those markets. And then, of course, the other big label of this civ, the camel. Extra HP both from the generic plus 10 bonus, but also from Cello Trade coming on. Well, as soon as Castle Age, if you research that tag, making those camels extra tanky. So, yeah, both civs definitely sharing some aspects, but as we're already on the way to Feudal Age, let's now focus on what these guys have done so far. Both players opting for the forward docks, interestingly. Since I do expect both guys to maybe look for galley play, the back dock would have been potentially more intuitive. Not to these guys, though, as MarkLanders is going for a very early landing. We have seen Castle Age landings, but start of Feudal, very timely plays being set up here by the Berbers, trying to look for where that opponent's island is. Of course, you don't always know, that map doesn't spawn the same way every time, but he's now able to find the corner of the land and is probably going to set up his forward there. Let's see what the idea is for him. Doesn't have a ton of wood left over right now, but I am expecting Stable to come in here momentarily, with the scout also having landed. Goes for the archery range instead. Okay, so interesting. Just because it's Berbers, I would have expected cavalry play, but no, we get the archery range, and I get that because archers just are the most powerful attacking units in the Feudal Age, and especially if the opponent doesn't have any defenses for that. That being said, though, there is Gio already over here with the scout doing a good job keeping vision of his island. Ooh, Mark ends up putting a villager trying to fight off this scout, and his forward has been exposed. That is great job scouting by Gio. And as I always say on islands, if the opponent goes for a forward and doesn't do a lot of damage with it, that is an automatic win for you as the defender. You don't need to panic there. The opponent has invested a lot of rest into this, and he's even losing his first archer here. You hate to see it for the Berbers. Their plan hasn't worked out great so far. Got that 1 extra HP on the scout cavalry, but other than that, not much going for him right now. In terms of the naval, trades apparently have been going fine or even across the board, so to speak. Berbers going forward, so some harassment, going to lose in this one though, it seems. Oh, the 1 HP here, that is exactly how it turned out in my head as well, obviously. And continue to just drop houses so far. That 1 archery range is, I guess, going to have to suffice for MarkLanders to try and make the difference in this one here. Again, the player going for the landing is investing a ton of extra resources, so he really has to make this one count and destroy, or at least hinder, the opponent's economy above everything else, really. Archers coming out for Gio. Wonder why we're not just going for skirmishers here. Maybe doesn't have the food production to justify that. Could be a reason. But why are we fighting fire with fire when we've got water readily available in the archery range? That's what I'm wondering. Of course, I'm not a player of their level, so it's not like I'm judging. I'm just kind of questioning. MarkLanders not trading too great, apparently, with these fires for now. Neither party going into galleys just yet, but triple dock for Saracens. Wouldn't surprise me if the galley switch came in sometime soon. Defensive tower even put up to defend the gold a bit. Fletching in for MarkLanders as well, so he really wants to make these archers count. Drops a very good tower. If this one goes up, that could be annoying for the opponent. The entire wood line would be denied in that case. Still has the one over here in the east as his safe space, but not much more. The archer's kind of out of position here for Gio. Gotta be careful. If the opponent has some skirmishers of his own, you might end up getting trapped here. So caution is required. So far though, I like this start for the Saracens, despite some higher idle TC time and lower eco numbers. He's been doing fine on water, I believe, and also done a fine job containing the threat of the opponent's landing. Tower dropped behind his woodline now though, so that is a valid concern. Archer again being chased down, finding a good pick here, but it looks like that one is going to survive as the reinforcement ends up saving the day. And Gio is pushed off of this woodline. Good job by MarkLanders finding some damage. He really needs to, because the longer this goes on without him finding damage on land, the precarious water situation is going to cost him big time. Oh man, he's been able to save all of his 4 fishing ships apparently. I wonder where they've gone. Looks like they're just looping around to the back, and he's going to try and get another dock up there. But he's pushing up in here in the middle now, trying to get those archers in the opponent's economy. Gets a villager pick there. So this is going to be the start of many to come if he wants to take this game here. High stakes match, and I like the aggressive play out of the Berbers, although I didn't necessarily expect it. Maybe he feels like the matchup just isn't as favorable if he plays it standard. I wonder, whatever the rationale, he's doing a good job here with the scouts blocking, and a 3-0 eco KD for MarkLanders. Doing a good job. However, you have to note that for this entire time the opponent's fishing ship have been working while the Berber ones have been idle for quite some time. So that is going to cause some imbalance there. The Berber's eco, especially having to add farms at home earlier than you ideally would like to, is less than great. Still no skirmishes for the Saracens though. Man, I really wonder why he feels so strongly about not adding those. Maybe he's just an archer player that likes to pride himself on archer micro. If that is the case, he's going to have to micro like a champ though, if he wants to well outplay these Berber numbers right now. He's not going for a landing of his own just yet, so he's gonna have to make do with this one and defend here, although he's not been able to do that very efficiently. The scouts again going in for big time villager picks here, and now even starting to chip away at that tower. I got a question, why are we going so heavily into archers there for Gio? Oh, you're delaying your castle age by so much going for these archers. At this point, I would prefer him just cancel those 10 archers, buy yourself up to castle age, and then go for knights or whatever, if you really don't want to make skirmishes or spears. But what prohibits him from making 2 spearmen, 4 skirmishers, and cleaning up this entire raid? That's what I'm wondering. Maybe there's an obvious answer here, but this is terrible. Oh, look at this impact on the woodline. That's going to be yet another 4 villagers at least going down here, if I judge this situation correctly. Archers approaching here, they're going to get some good returns on MarkLanders' military, but you can see the Berbers really ahead going into castle age here, and having gotten big eco kills here. We've got an 8-0 eco KD in favor of Mark, who's now added another archer, able to draw out a single one of the opponents, and trading very efficiently so far. I can't wrap my head around this. Cancel some archers and go up to castle age, my man, please. Please, you're even housed, you're not even losing. Oh, this is... We're housed. We're housed. The town center isn't working, the ranges aren't working. It's the perfect time to cancel units and go to castle age. For what reason are we not doing it? We even have bigger military numbers than the opponent already. There's no reason not to go up to castle age here. Oh, he's really costing himself the game here, I believe. He did such a good job spotting this forward, or this landing, and I thought reacted very quickly, but the decision making from there on out has just been poor, at least unless I'm completely misjudging this, and unless I'm not taking into account a major point here. But he's got tons of archers, finally goes up to castle age, but could have gone up a minute earlier here at the very least. Could have gone up 4 minutes earlier, but even just organically, definitely way behind the curve here, and that's going to be Berber Town Center up very, very soon. MarkLanders' spot all of a sudden looking really good in this one, this forward. I don't even think he played this great. Well, he didn't make any mistakes, right? But I don't even think he got the best possible case out of that landing. It's just that Gio's reaction really set himself behind, and that is the attacker's advantage, right? You're able to cause disruption in the opponent's village and start throwing him off there, force him to think outside his original game plan, and you can see how much that can work in your favor here. As the knights are now a pain to deal with, although with these types of archer numbers he's at least able to keep the military alive. But now it's actually the Berbers who's able to get on to knights before Gio is up to Castle Age, and that is really what you wanted to have avoided as Gio here, pretty sure. He's cleaned up the enemy water, so that is good. No fishing economy here for the last 10 minutes or so for Mark. But the extra town center is more than making up for this, and look at the push that he's preparing. He's bringing knights, archers that he's still got left from the feud age, of course, and the mangonel behind all of this. If he's getting cavalry armor upgrades and stuff, I think the enemy's archers would struggle mightily against this. Finally, Gio has gone for some spearmen though on top of this, as he recognizes the knights might be a bit too much to handle otherwise. First mangonel shot doesn't really land, but if a big one comes in here, this could be game deciding. Oh, if this crossbowman mass ends up taking too much damage as a bunch of them go down. Really nicely aimed by MarkLanders. Able to keep the knights alive for now as well. Oh no, you can't afford to take any more of these mangonel shots there as Gio. As another one comes in, but nicely moved around by the Saracen player. He's down 10 eco. He can't afford to go down in army as well. Gotta find a way to stop this push right here and now. And what is his answer? It's more spearmen, mangonels of his own, and more crossbowmen against the opponent's mango knight archer. We'll see how it turns out for him. I really can't tell just yet, guys. This is a really interesting one. Okay, let's see. High stakes matchup. MarkLanders is definitely in a pretty good game state right now, but with these type of army numbers, the game state is super volatile and could turn on its head at any point in time. Very careful back and forth here, dancing on their toes are both players. Mangonel shots being traded, 1 for 1 so far, not the end of the world for either party. Crossbowmen stay alive for now, 2. Bodkin, archer padding in for the Saracens on the other side. Very few military upgrades for MarkLanders. He's got some decent resources. I would like to see him visit the blacksmith here again pretty soon. He's dropping a castle on the opponent's island, likely bringing some camel archers soon. Could be what he's looking for, or maybe just wants to actually go for a fast imp here and go with trebuchets to accelerate the process of this push. Oh, this could be big. Man, Gio really playing with fire. He's stepping into range. Splits a tad late, but able to avert most of the damage. Okay, he's got a good shot in there. Good volley on that mangonel, which is going to have to be repaired back up. The eco difference is 15 at this point. And the Berbers trying to get back onto water, having been found out by Gio. I don't think he's spotted this though yet consciously, so the fishing ships are able to work right now. That said, immediately the fire goes to work and starts cooking those fishing ships. So that eco is not going to stick around for much longer there. Kind of, yeah, a little bit inflated, those eco numbers for the Berbers. But even still, just in terms of villagers, he's in a pretty good position. Mangonel shots being traded. Fine, that was really good trade, I think, for Gio, getting the additional damage on the remaining mangonel. Scorpion out for MarkLanders. Ooh, fancy, okay. Didn't expect to see that one coming. Castle is up. I really think he's looking for imp right now. I don't think he wants to go for 100 villagers. He's really looking to do it, and yeah, he's fully committing on this. Alright, I've rarely seen such a decisive player in this tournament, especially in such a high stakes game. In comes the mangonel shot. It was a great one, and the Scorpion does some great work too. I think Gio is really struggling with this one, but that said, he's just overwhelmed it. think it was a fine trade for him. He's lost like 8 or 10 crossbowmen, but able to take out both siege weapons, I think, is a worthwhile trade. That being said, though, that looked ugly for a while, but again, the decisiveness is what saved him there. Had he tried to micro around a bit more, he might have taken additional shots either. Well, any additional one really could have cost him another dozen or so crossbowmen, honestly. But the knights in the backline still big trouble on the wood and the gold. No quiet second there for Gio to kind of recompose himself and formulate a game plan. At least gets the knight, which is big. Conversion ends up coming through and takes out the last raider here. Although, hold that thought, there's 4 more knights in the east, so Gio is not going to be able to rest here for a while, as the opponent is about to hit Imp 2, and there's not a lot of trebuchets required for MarkLanders. If he gets 1 or 2 of them out and protects those with some siege, I think it could be very difficult for Gio to do anything about this. Crossbowmen not the greatest at attacking trebuchets. Oh, this is big. Don't think he's looking just yet. There he goes, finally spots this, but lost another 5 or so crossbowmen to this mangonel. Skirmishers even coming out for MarkLanders now, so he's really committing to finding answers against the crossbow. Interesting though, because those pikemen also are some trouble for him, as he's just now hitting Imp. And what is Gio's reaction going to be? How can he set up against this? What type of army does he have to help him defend against those trebuchets? He's behind 25 villages here, despite the fishing economy. It is a rough game state for him, to be sure. Diving in with the pikemen now, trying to take out the mangonel, but that won't work either. He's got 28 crossbowmen around, so it's not like he's left with nothing. But the knights have been giving him a tough time, and his eco is still very much open to raiding. 30C coming down now for Mark. Gio still on his 1, scrambling to keep the villagers and the army alive. Trebuchet gets out onto the map now. It's just a single one for Mark, who's also not got the greatest economy. I mean, it's not like he can just fire off all cylinders now, but it's good enough for him to start putting pressure here. Force an answer out of Gio. Got a little bit of everything here in terms of units. Sends in the knights to tank the pikemen, which is kind of ugly, but the mangonel might be getting some good shots in here. Shot fires, great hit. Oh man, that was almost a dozen of them, wasn't it? Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit here, but it was a really good shot. And the trebuchet stays up. Down goes the siege workshop. Gio's really being pressured here. What can he do against trebuchets? What does he have? Is he going to commit the crossbowman mass? The mangonel's going to give him a real tough time if he tries. Pikemen taking huge hits from the siege. Oh, in go the crossbowmen. Great split though by Gio, who ends up taking out the mangonel. Can he survive the knights as well though? Monks trying to convert, gets 1 conversion off. Second one doesn't look like it's going to complete. And so the crossbowmen are going to tank the knights and the skirmishers behind. I think that was really intelligent switch onto skirmishers for Mark. Not enough pikemen or really anything else for Gio to do anything about this. No cavalry of his own to deal with the skirmishers. And the second trebuchet has come forward. I don't think Gio has an answer for this right now. Or he might start losing his one and only town center soon. And that would almost certainly seal the game, considering him already being down 30 villagers. Skirmishers come forward. He's got nothing to respond to those. The crossbowmen are going to be taken out here, and the knights start flooding in. He's going to lose tons of villagers off of this. And the town center is going to go down too. This should be it, really, shouldn't it? Is MarkLanders going to do it here? It looks like he's completed the game. Gio calls it right here. Okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, that was a great series here, honestly, between these two guys. Both had really good games. Gio almost able to pull off the upset here as the 11th seed, but ends up falling to MarkLanders against his Berbers with the creative feudal age landing into full pressure push. Really good job here by both players whenever they were ahead, never stopping the pressure, always pouring in more army onto the opponent, hitting great timings and following through on those. That was great play here. Respect to both players, but mainly congrats to MarkLanders, of course, for advancing into the final four of his bracket. Excited to see more of him, especially. And I'll end the recording here, but I want to give another shout out to Daniela, Komi, and the rest of the organizers of the event, who are doing us a great favor by running this whole show. So big props to them. And if you want to see more of these tournament casts, check out this YouTube channel that you're currently watching this on. There's a playlist called PYP Watts with all my tournament casts and my own games from my perspective that I've played in this event. Or you can also visit my Twitch channel, Odrada_1066, where I'm casting some live games, but also primarily WOD replays of this tournament. And yeah, let's hang out and have a great time there too. This is going to do it for this series, though. Thanks everybody for checking it out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with some more AOE2 casting.